Hello, I'm Roly. I'm a custodian of this beautiful woodland in the heart of Derbyshire, and this is video blog 111. I've been spending time with the Glass Bead Game by Hermann Hesse, and it's a book that doesn't really ask to be read quickly. It asks to be wandered through, the way you wander through the woodland without a fixed destination, trusting that something will reveal itself if you move slowly enough. There's a passage early on that stopped me in my tracks. Hesse writes of a man who roamed, searched for roots, lay in the grass, crouched in trees, listened to animals, kindled small fires, and compared the shapes of smoke to clouds in the sky. A man who learned from fog, rain, air, sun, and moonlight, whose read meaning in stones shaped like kidneys or hearts, in water polished pebbles, in twisted roots, and in the veining of leaves. Reading that, I didn't feel as though I was encountering philosophy in the usual sense. I felt as though I was meeting a fellow walker, someone who understands that knowledge doesn't always arrive through effort or ambition, but through attention. And I'll say this plainly, I believe Hermann Hesse is describing an ovate, not in the sense of robes or formal orders, but in the older role, an observer of nature, a reader of symbols, someone whose understanding comes from noticing patterns and correspondences rather than from trance, ritual, or authority. There is nothing here of a shaman crossing worlds or seeking altered states. What's being described is quieter, steadier, rooted in long familiarity with the land. This is knowledge gathered in incidentally. The Ovate does not chase insight. He watches, he listens, he compares the curl of the smoke to the movement of clouds because the comparison matters, not because it is useful, but because it is true. This is learning that lives in a body and in the seasons, not in institutions. This is one of the quiet truths at the heart of the Glass Bead Game. For all its talk of systems, symbols, and intellectual mastery, the book keeps circling back to something older, the idea that wisdom is more. It emerges when we notice how things belong together, when we stop trying to dominate meaning and instead allow meaning to show itself. As a custodian of the woodland, this feels deeply familiar. Long before books and diagrams, people learned that by reading the world around them. They watched how water shaped stone, how the same forms appeared again and again in the leaves, lungs, rivers, bones, and stars. They understood that knowledge was not something separate from life, but woven through it. The Glass Bead Game itself, this vast symbolic weaving of music, mathematics, philosophy, and culture, feels less like a new invention and more like a formalized memory, a refined expression of an ancient impulse to connect disciples, seasons, sounds, and ideas into a single pattern, then step back and feel whatever it resonates. What Hess seems to be warning us about is not ignorance but disconnection, a kind of cleverness that forgets its roots, a knowledge that floats free of soil, weather, breath, and touch. And what he offers instead is not a rejection of intellect, but a regrounding of it. This passage reminds us that wandering is not aimless. The kneeling in moss, turning over pebbles, listening to birdsong, and noticing the grain of wood are not distractions from understanding, but doorways into it. For me, the Glass Bead Game is ultimately a book about remembering. Remembering that wisdom once lived in relationship, that learning was once inseparable from place, that land itself has always been a library. The custodian's task is not to conquer that library, but to tend it, to read slowly and to pass on what can only be learned by paying attention. So I do hope you enjoyed this Custodians of a Woodland on this fine, beautiful day. So I do hope to see you again, and TTFN.